6 times 3. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Hurry up.
18.
Oh!
Ring the bell 3 times, put your helmet on the ground, you're done.
Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Joshua Matthew Secord, and I'm in y'all's EPH617 class, Disease Prevention with Dr. Brown. And today I will be presenting my research paper examining magnesium ibogaine therapy as an emerging treatment for traumatic brain injury, TBIs, related symptoms in Special Operations Forces members and Special Operations veterans. This presentation will walk through the background of the problem, the study methods, the results, and the broader public health implications of this intervention. I first wanted to just begin with why I chose this topic. Combined with my family, we have decades of military service on my father's side and my mother's side. My goal after receiving my master's in public health, my MPH, is to become the first officer in my family within the United States Army. And my goal is to spread awareness to what these soldiers go through on a daily basis. I've had service members in my family suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, anxiety, depression, you name it. And I just find it as a blessing to shed to light the new treatments that could potentially be an intervention. And maybe one day I can do more research on this personally and get a grant through the university. And that's my whole goal within this video. Again, my name is Joshua Matthew Secor, and I hope you guys enjoy this presentation of magnesium ibogaine therapy.
Who Marcus and Amber Capone are and what they've been doing in the film. I do think this is something everyone should see. I'll just say that I think their organization, Veteran Solutions, is one I've been paying attention to and trying to support in ways I can over the last, it's been 3-4 years.
They made this little infomercial that was on social media talking about psychedelics, and I had heard about it and I kind of whitewashed it. And my wife was at the same point. She was getting ready to leave me and take the 2 kids, and I can't do this anymore. And we laid in bed one night and she watched it and she was crying and she leaned over and she made me watch it. I started bawling because I could see the difference. The last time I saw Marcus and this Marcus is very, very different. And she looked over and she goes, "If you love me, you'll go." And I went down there with a bunch of guys that were legends inside of the community. That medicine is so strong. And I think that's why guys get such relief, and the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. And if I wouldn't have gone down to Mexico, there was no talk therapy, there was no meditation, there was no cold plunge. It was going to get me there.
U.S. Special Operations Forces, often referred to as SOF, represent some of the most elite military personnel in the world. These operators, including Navy SEALs, Green Berets, Delta Force, and others, carry out extreme, high-risk, complex, and high-stress missions that far exceed the demands placed on conventional military units. The operational tempo within these communities is exceptionally intense. Operators complete repeated deployments with very limited recovery time, face continuous exposure to combat environments, and must remain mentally and physically prepared for missions that are unpredictable and dangerous. Because of these demands, SOF personnel experience significant professional and personal stressors, and they are at high risk for a wide range of behavioral health challenges. One of the most urgent public health concerns affecting both active duty SOF members and special operations veterans is suicide. Research increasingly shows that more SOF members are dying by suicide at home than in combat. These trends suggest that our traditional approaches to mental health may not be sufficient for this unique community. Recent studies show that the intense physical, emotional, and cognitive strain associated with special operations work leads to an elevated risk for conditions such as post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, depression, anxiety, and especially traumatic brain injury, or TBI. According to the Psychological Health Center of Excellence, service members operating in high-stress environments face significant psychological health concerns driven by cumulative stress, blast exposure, and the emotional burden of their work. The combination of repeated TBIs, exposure to high caliber weapons fire, blast overpressure, and the psychological intensity of combat contributes to major long-term health problems. Many SOF personnel do not seek mental health treatment due to fear of being removed from rotation or being benched from the teams. Stigma remains a major barrier within this community. On top of these risk factors, SOF culture emphasizes toughness, self-reliance, and independence. While these traits are beneficial in combat, they can make it harder for operators to reach out for support, and this increases long-term vulnerability. However, the SOF community also possesses powerful promotive factors. There's a strong sense of brotherhood, elite teamwork, and resilience that comes from operating as a cohesive unit. SOF operators are often described as tactical athletes, and their training, camaraderie, and internal motivation are among the strongest in the military. There are also important protective factors such as early TBI identification, embedded psychological support, confidential counseling, and peer networks that help reduce the effects of chronic stress. Military health systems also require advanced technologies capable of diagnosing TBI quickly in both urban and remote environments, where evacuation may be delayed. These technologies must be compact, durable, fast, and capable of functioning under extreme conditions. Against this backdrop, some SOF members and veterans have turned to emerging treatments outside of traditional military medicine, this including ibogaine, a plant-derived psychoactive compound historically used in the treatment of substance use disorders. When combined with magnesium and administered through the MYSTIC protocol, ibogaine has drawn interest for its potential to reduce TBI-related symptoms, depression, anxiety, and PTSD. This leads us to the study at the center of my research paper, which is ibogaine. I will now be going over the methods within this research. The study used a prospective observational design to examine the effects of the magnesium ibogaine Stanford traumatic injury to the CNS or MYSTIC protocol in special operations veterans with a history of traumatic brain injury. We'll first start off with participation screening, the participant screening. According to the consort diagram, 34 individuals were screened for eligibility, 33 were enrolled, 1 person failed to meet initial criteria, 2 were withdrawn because of updated eligibility issues, and 1 withdrew due to acute substance use withdrawal symptoms. This left the researchers with 30 participants who completed baseline assessments, immediate post-treatment assessments, and 1-month follow-up measures. 27 of those participants also completed cognitive testing at the 1-month mark. Every participant in the study was male, which is consistent with the demographic composition of Special Operations Forces. At baseline, 23 met criteria for post-traumatic stress, 15 for major depressive disorders, and 14 for an anxiety disorder. Within the intervention, there was the MYSTIC protocol. Participants received oral ibogaine at an average dose of 12.1 milligrams per kilogram, delivered under controlled medical supervision. This is extremely important because ibogaine carries known cardiac risks. Throughout the intervention, there were no cases of bradycardia, tachycardia, or dangerous QT interval prolongation. No serious or unexpected medical events occurred. Participants did experience temporary cerebral symptoms like mild ataxia or tremor, but that was resolved within 24 hours. Common symptoms like headaches, anxiety, nausea, and hypertension were treated supportively. The primary outcome was functional disability, assessed using the World Health Organization Disability Assessment Schedule 2.0. This is also known as the WHO-DAS 2.0. Secondary outcomes included PTSD symptoms using the CAPS CAPS-5, depression using MADRS, MADRS, and anxiety using HAM-A. The study used linear mixed effects models to analyze change over time. Sensitivity analysis were performed to make sure improvements were not being exaggerated by those with mild symptoms or mild TBI. Now we'll be going over the results. Participant flow. Of the 34 individuals originally screened, 30 completed all the major assessment points. 27 completed cognitive testing at 1 month. This is a strong sample retention rate for a clinical study involving veterans and psychoactive compounds. The WHO-DAS results were striking. At baseline, the average WHO-DAS score was 30.2, suggesting moderate disability. Immediately after the treatment, scores dropped to 19.9, a statistically significant improvement with an effect size of delta equaling 0.74. At 1 month, the mean WHO-DAS score dropped all the way to 5.1, which indicates minimal to no disability. The effect size was delta equaling 2.20, which is extremely large for clinical research. Improvements were seen across every WHO-DAS domain, but the strongest improvements were in cognitive functioning. Results for PTSD, anxiety, and depression were all robust. PTSD symptoms decreased dramatically with large effect size both immediately and at 1 month, reaching delta equaling 2.54. Depression symptoms also showed major reductions, delta equaling 2.65 immediately post-treatment, delta equaling 2.80 at 1 month. Anxiety symptoms declined as well, with effect sizes over 2.0 at both time points. Across all three psychiatric categories, response rates were over 93%. Symptom reductions exceeded 81%, and remission rates were 83% or higher after 1 month. One of the most important exploratory outcomes was suicidal ideation. At baseline, 47% of participants reported suicidal thoughts. Immediately after treatment, the number dropped to 0%. At 1 month, only 7% reported any suicidal ideation. The neuropsychological results were equally encouraging, participants showing significant improvements in visual and verbal memory, sustained attention, processing speed, and executive functioning. These improvements moved many participants from average ranges to high average or superior levels, suggesting potential neurocognitive recovery. Overall safety within the study, no serious adverse events occurred. The study reported, though, no cardiac complications, no hemodynamic instability, all side effects were temporary, all cerebral symptoms resolved quickly. This confirms that the MYSTIC protocol can be delivered safely under controlled medical conditions. And even after excluding participants who did not meet full psychiatric criteria, remission remains 67% or higher. After excluding those with non-mild TBI severity, remission remained 85% or higher. This means the results were not dependent on symptom severity, they were consistent across all subgroups. In conclusion, this study provides compelling evidence that magnesium ibogaine therapy delivered through the MYSTIC protocol may offer significant benefits for special operations veterans suffering from TBI-related symptoms, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, anxiety, and functional disability. The magnitude of improvement across multiple domains, cognitive functioning, psychiatric symptoms, and physical functioning suggests that ibogaine may target underlying neurological dysfunction rather than just masking symptoms. For the SOF community, which faces unique pressures, repeated blast exposure, and cultural barriers to seeking care, these findings are extremely important. Traditional treatments often fall short, and many SOF members feel the conventional approaches do not adequately address their experiences. This research also highlights a broader public health challenge. SOF members and veterans are among the most skilled individuals in our national defense structure, yet they are disproportionately affected by suicide, chronic mental health conditions, and TBI. Developing interventions that are effective, destigmatized, and accessible is extremely essential. While the results of this study are promising, it's important to emphasize that ibogaine therapy carries risks and must be administered in medically controlled environments. Further research with larger sample sizes, randomized designs, and long-term follow-up is needed to validate these findings and explore the full potential of ibogaine-based treatments. The MYSTIC protocol, in conclusion, represents a potentially transformative intervention for Special Operations Forces operators and veterans living with the consequences of traumatic brain injury, and chronic psychological distress. The improvements observed in this study offer hope and direction for future research and for the development of more effective mental health care strategies for this highly specialized and underserved military population. Again, I want to thank EPH617 class disease prevention for taking the time to watch my video. Again, thank you, Dr. Brown, for giving us this opportunity to research a topic that we're all interested in. And I hope you guys enjoyed my short 15-minute video on this topic. Again, thank you for watching. I hope this research contributes to ongoing discussions about improving the health, performance, and long-term well-being of our special operations community. Again, thank you again, Dr. Brown, and thank you, class, and I hope you guys have a blessed day.